Welcome to episode 50 of Around the Board, recorded on October 9th, 2024. In this show, where four board game enthusiasts discuss board games and board game topics. Today's show is a little different as we are down a few regulars, but not short on talent. We'll start the show with a question from our returning guest, Andrew Lowen of Deliverance fame. After which, we'll move into everybody's favorite, Play, Shelf, Trade. And then after that, we discuss the topic of playtesting. And we'll round out the show with a prime number of 3, our top 3 themes that we enjoy in games. All right, here's your host, Daniel Connors, John Theismann, Kelly McLaughlin, and Andrew Lowen. Now join us around the board. All right, guys, welcome, Andrew. I'm so glad that you decided to join us again.
Yeah, I had so much fun with the show last time. I had to do it again if I had the opportunity. So, well, thanks for welcoming me back.
Cool. For those of you that don't know, Andrew Lowen of Lowen Games, I believe.
Right.
And you may have heard of a game of his. What's it called, Daniel?
It's called Deliverance.
There you go.
There it is.
Well, I just wrote it down earlier, and then I forgot I wrote it down. But yes, Deliverance. It's been taking the world by storm, I believe. And I think Andrew has something new to talk about today, don't you, buddy?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. We released, so Deliverance was like a 7-year journey to get it into people's hands.
Oh my gosh.
And when we released it, it was the hottest game on Board Game Geek. So hit #1 hotness in December. It is currently the highest rated religious board game of like every religion in the entire religious category on Board Game Geek. So it's I guess it's not a far stretch to say it's the highest rated Christian board game ever made also. And it's award winning. We were nominated for 5 Golden Geek Awards.
Wow.
And all sorts of other things. Turns out that people were really craving a game like this, and we did a great job. And so we came back to Kickstarter with an expansion, and that has now become the it's the top funding Christian game ever on Kickstarter, which again
the last
wasn't
Deliverance, I'm guessing.
Yeah. Well, so the top game before that was Ezra and Nehemiah. It's a top
cool.
rated tabletop game. And so we just actually, as of this recording yesterday, we just passed 328,000, which was what?
Holy cow.
Yeah,
Wow.
so we have 9 days to go. We're at 332,100, and we estimate we may be able to peak as high as 450 if we hustle. We've got the groundswell that happens in the last 48 hours and everything like that. But I'm just happy as a clam, kind of celebrating all the things with the fans. So
I got to say, now you came on our show about 2 years ago to talk about Deliverance, and it was like, as you just described, what an amazing success it was. So is that like the impetus you wanted to repeat that success? I got to go on around the board. We got this expansion coming out. Is that what the motivation was to come on the show?
Yeah, well, I just figured anybody that'll have me talk about Deliverance, that's where I want to be. But
okay, anybody, I got you.
I was talking with my neighbor the other day. No, I really enjoyed my time on Around the Board. So I actually sought out Daniel and said, "Hey, are you guys still doing that?" And I watch you guys every so often. I'm one of your viewers too. It's like, let's do it again if you have time for me. And here we are.
Cool.
Yeah. And we're like so grateful that you reached out to us. It's pretty cool. As you know, we're still small time. So anytime someone reaches out to us, it kind of inflates our ego just a little bit. So we were happy to accommodate you.
That's awesome.
and as we all know, Deliverance is such a wonderful game, and we're happy to represent it. And as many of you listeners know, we're Christians on this podcast. So we are excited that Andrew kind of started this like movement of Christian games. I know there were other people designing, so I don't want to take away from them. But like, I don't know, this community has really swelled up. Joe Bragg also helped that community really come up, and Jack Dunbar and stuff. But I really feel like you kind of busted the door open and said Christian games can be great. And
we were the tip of the
people.
spear.
Yeah,
it was the first Christian game that really made it, and we dealt with a lot of doubters for good reason. A lot of the time Christian games are just slightly worse versions of other existing games. Why would you play Settlers of Catan when you could play Settlers of Canaan? Or so I just feels like, why would I ever not play the original? It's not like Settlers of Catan causes me to compromise my faith. Sometimes it does when I backstab and I'm so cutthroat, but that's more of a my heart issue, not a game issue, right? But
Hey, you're not playing the game if you don't do that, right?
that's right. That's right. So yeah, it felt like we, now Christians have something that they can be you know, proud to share. They're not like, oh well, I'm worried that the non-Christian person in my gamer group won't like it. Or I mean, that's very common. You wanna first of all, it doesn't sound like very much fun to play a game about learning the Bible. It's like let's just like take the fun out. I mean, it's education is what it is. And it's just like a game about math doesn't sound that fun, or a game about reading comprehension doesn't sound that fun. And it's like, oftentimes because Christians would say, well, the game has to teach the Bible because we need to save souls and reach the lost and whatnot. Well, the lost souls don't want to play a game about learning the Bible because they don't want to learn the Bible. It's just something that that many people look at as though it's like an icky, yucky thing I don't want to touch. It says bad things in it, I heard, and that's it, right? But they'll play a game about where they get to take control of an epic angel and slay demons and protect saints by the righteous power of God. It's like it's a much different, it frames the conversation in a much different way. And it turns out, we actually, everyone was we'll say, like, on the non-Christian side, everybody was kind of waiting for that moment in the campaign where it was the bait and switch, like, okay, mission 9 finished, mission 10, oh wait, you have to go to confession first, or you've gotta repent now, or you have to suffer a -5 to your dice rolls. And it never came. That never happened. There was no cheesy fireproof moment where the grandpa comes in and is like, do you know Jesus, or anything like that. Not trying to be sacrilegious or anything, but that's what every non-Christian and about half of the Christians that played this game expected. And they didn't get that. Instead, they just got, hey, Christ is, died, buried, crucified, or died, buried, and resurrected, and he's your commander in chief, and you're Michael the Archangel, and it's time to slay demons and chew bubblegum, and you're all out of it. And it was a hit. It was a very innovative game, and it was innovative in its theme. It was innovative in the way that it put the mechanics, like blended the mechanics with the theme, and the experience is rather unique among games where you feel like this epically powerful angel that's just about to die.
For those of you that don't know, Deliverance is a dungeon crawler with a Christian theme. And hypothetical situation here, say two guys run a YouTube channel. One of the guys owns this game. Another guy thinks the theme sounds really cool, but the other guy's never asked him to come play it. So I'm not really sure, what is all is involved in this game, but what does the expansion add to the game for those of that have played it?
Yeah, so first of all, the expansion is a big box expansion. So it's going to about double the content that's in the original box. So the storyline, it picks up where the last game left off. So I'll try to avoid spoilers, but you're standing at a portal of some kind, and you're like, what's going on here? And then bad guys try to jump on you. But the game explores this narrative that there's a fallen council in the town of Fallbrook that has kind of rebelled against Satan's authority, and they now desire to be worshipped on their own, and they're seeking their own glory. And so the game starts with Satan entering into their domain and having a conversation with them, saying, okay, you guys, I give up. You guys can have your authority. Here are the 9 stones from my breastplate, and divide them amongst yourselves, and whichever one of you gathers all 9 stones will ascend to my position. And so that's, there's more shenanigans happening in Fallbrook. Of course, the devil is up to his, he has his plans, the Council of the Fallen has theirs, and of course, there are all these helpless saints caught between. There is a saint that has returned to Fallbrook that represents the last hope of the town. And so it's the angel's job to protect him, and everybody else seems to want to do him harm. So a blast. The campaign is going to be more dynamic, meaning that you'll actually make choices that impact the ending you receive and the
Nice.
direction that you go, and what'll actually happen to you in various missions. And so it should be a lot of fun. There are 9 additional angels that are completely awesome with that are coming. By the time this podcast releases, we will have released the 8th angel, and that angel is actually, it's funny because the angel, when I release it, it's going to be a box that says do not open until the campaign book tells you. So you're actually it's like finding a box inside of another box. When I show everyone the box, they're gonna be like, you didn't reveal an angel. But it's so you'll actually gain new characters and other things that add permanent replayable content to the game. There are 5 boxes in an envelope to open in this box, and it should be a lot of fun. Super duper premium deluxe components and all of that.
Yeah,
we have our Kickstarter
usual.
live, which you can get all the fancy shenanigans. I've got my cool Deliverance t-shirt. We have like the legend of the Deliverance.
I want one of those
happening. Again, and it was sold like almost 1,500 t-shirts just because fans wanted them, and
yeah, they are sweet.
So
did you know you're going to turn into a t-shirt company as well?
I told everybody I wasn't going to, but we're doing t-shirts. We have a sweatshirt now that people wanted. It's like our top we're actually voting on our top t-shirts, and the number 1 right now, it says pray and slay
cool.
across the front. And then we've got another one that says the intercessor, which is like Michael's sword with the word intercessor in between. Intercessor is the solo mode of Deliverance, and it says it's dangerous to go alone. Take this with you. With intercessor, it's like a sword, and on the back it's got 1 can be overpowered, but 2 can withstand him, and a 3-fold cord is not quickly broken from so it's a fun. We have a lot of fun with our shirts. A lot of people the first campaign were like, I don't even know what that means, and then after they play the game, they're like, oh my goodness, that's the free action icon, that's so cool, I need that shirt. And so we sold out of all of them, and they're like, okay, now they know why to buy t-shirts during our Kickstarter campaigns. Anyway,
it's your fault for making such cool designs and everything. That's ready made for t-shirts.
We're nerds. We need to show off what we've got. We need to show off our street cred.
Yeah, exactly.
Stuff.
All right, guys. Well, thanks, Andrew, for talking about your game a little bit, but we're gonna kind of jump into what people are actually here for, and that is time to play the game. Around the Board is all about debating different topics within tabletop gaming, and 4 unique segments, each hosted by one of us, and a behind-the-scenes judge will award points. At the end of the show, the contestant with the most victory points will be awarded 2 shame-free Table Talk minutes to talk about whatever they like. Now, it's time to play the game.
Round 1. Fight!
All right, round 1 is a nice little discussion we're going to have amongst ourselves. All right, and the theme of the discussion, ironically enough, is going to be theme versus mechanics, like what is important in a game. And also, as Andrew will talk about it, how would you start a game? Would you start it with a theme or mechanics? We're going to go around and talk about what we think is important and what we look for. Actually, I made a game back in the day. Now, I never really... Yes, I never completed it though, but it started with the theme and a little bit of mechanics. Is anybody familiar with the what is that? It's like an art auction game that was out back in the 80s. I can't remember what it was called now, but it was where you had, what's that?
Masterpiece?
Yes, Masterpiece. And it's where you had different values on the backs of different masterpieces, and you didn't know what they were worth until you got them. But it made me think about some reason that generated the juices of me wanting to make a game. And I made a game about where you would buy cars and fix them up and make them faster. And so instead of you would upgrade them, instead of upgrading your paint, you're upgrading your car. But I never could figure out how to make it a game. I made the board, I made everything, but I didn't know how you would win. So I started with theme, okay, because I wanted the cars. And that's kind of the way I am now, because I love just about any theme or about any game if it's got the right theme in it. And so just case in point, Andrew's game is a dungeon crawler. I don't like dungeon crawlers because I usually don't like the theme. Okay, if it's a theme about fantasy or what have you, I'm bored. I'm like, okay, so the tale of Guaknar is now going to smite the hammer of Juju Beans, and I don't care. It's what does that mean to me? But this game that
Still
Andrew
better than Rings of
created,
Power, though.
what's that?
Still better than Rings of Power.
Oh, there we go. Power, thank you. But this game that Andrew created, at least I've got some foothold in reality with it. I think I could have fun with this game. That's why I told Daniel, I'm like, nah, just because I won't play Gloomhaven with you doesn't mean I wouldn't play this game with you. I'd give this one a try. So with me, theme is definitely first. But as we move on here to Andrew, I would love to hear what he thinks and what he says about when he's creating a game, because I have a feeling it might be a little more mechanics heavy. But what do you what do you think there, Andrew?
Before we get to Andrew, though, John, I just got to say, I can't ask you to play Deliverance because every time I've asked you to play a dungeon crawl, you're like, this is stupid. So like, I didn't want to do that to Andrew. I didn't want you to have to go on the show and be like, I hated Deliverance. So I just shielded you from that awkward moment.
I gotcha.
It's like what I did with my parents, but after the game's released, it's like, well, it's just never going to get any better than this. So let's just let the axe fall. Now.
There you go. Yep.
And they loved it.
Well, go really? So they actually played it.
Good.
Yeah, they actually, it's cool. So funny. My parents are in their 60s and my in-laws are approaching their 70s. And it was a real surprise to find that they not only played, like my mom has only played Wordle. That is the extent of her gameplay. And she doesn't have a, anyway, so she just doesn't have an extensive library of knowledge in her head about how to play a game. And she loved Deliverance. It's so funny because people's personality comes out when they're playing the angels. You've got Michael the Archangel, who loves to be in the front lines as like a berserker warrior with his big two-handed sword. But if somebody's playing that character that wants to heal and help and support and just is kind of that type of person, they'll use their prey actions and all that. And they sit in the back lines as Michael the Archangel, still somehow being very effective. And it's just hilarious to see people's personalities. Well, my mom it sounds like my mom's a lot like Kelly because my mom is very bloodthirsty and the game became all about heal mom, heal Michael. She didn't realize she had a health bar. She was just killing stuff. And it's just so funny. But yeah, I think usually even non-gamers tend to find the theme interesting. And in general, with a game that I design, I actually design experience first. And what I mean by that is, what is the one experience that I want players to have? Another designer that actually designs this way is Eric Lang. In particular with Cthulhu Death May Die. That's actually a game that is quite similar to Deliverance in a lot of ways. A lot of people will see similar things where you start out weak and then start not theme-wise, but you start out weak, but you end up growing into superpower. And Eric Lang's idea was like, what if you shot Cthulhu in the face with a shotgun? And that was the idea behind Cthulhu Death May Die. And so with Deliverance, I wanted you to feel like this epically powerful angel that was on the verge of defeat, where because the forces of good they're supposed to win. And I wanted you to feel like you were just dominating, like there was no demon that could stand before you. And I wanted you to still almost lose. I wanted every single game you feel like, oh, we're going to lose if we don't fix this, and so it's fully cooperative, but every single time you play, it's like, you're always on the edge of your seat, biting your fingernails, like hoping that you can find another way to survive. You can't see a way to math out how to win. You can just see a way to survive the next round. And then before, at the very end, you're like, oh my goodness, I think we could do this, guys, and you pull out a win and everyone else is defeated, and you're at 1 health and you're like, we did it, So the idea for me is I wanted you to feel like this epically powerful angel on the verge of defeat. And so it was like, how do I do that? And also I had this kind of idea behind the experiences that I had playing MMORPGs, like in a big raid boss fight. I wanted to feel like I did when I cheered the very first time I downed Ragnaros with my guild, or, whatever big giant boss fight you worked on a long time and finally got him, and that feeling is what I wanted to get to come out in the players. And that's really hard to do. I put together, I stole, it's like this way a little bit more, but you've got my War of the Ring. I pulled all the minis and out of that and all my cubes out of Pandemic Legacy. And I put together my very first prototype, and it was just a garbage garbage game that felt like pushing cubes around a board and then we die. It's like, this is not even fun. I don't feel like an angel at all, you know.
That
It's like,
sounds like my plays of
I'm going to speak
Pandemic.
up for Chris. I
Yeah,
think Chris
yeah.
would have loved that version.
Yeah, so
I get to push cubes around? Yes.
Say, it sounds like any game of Pandemic I've played, so that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Kelly, what are you thinking there? What drives you, Kelly? Is it theme, mechanics, or experience? Now Andrew's thrown a whole other category into it, is experience. So what do you think?
So I'm ready for Chris who's not here, to start screaming. But mechanics are key. We all know if the game doesn't play well and it's not engaging, you're not going to play it. But let's be honest, when you're walking through the game store, you know, it's what grabs your eye, what looks cool. And then, sure, you know, little meeples or little, you know, old designs, you know, the good mechanics will get played. But come on, games like Petrichor, I know that's one that didn't get enough love, but that game laid out is so gorgeous, so immersive. And when the theme hits hard like that, it's just, why not enjoy what you're looking at for 2 hours? You're going to sit at a table for 2 hours. Why not enjoy it?
This is true.
So is it not you don't care about theme, you just care about the look of it.
He wants the look.
Petrichor, you're a cloud. And I don't know how thematic you get immersed into that. I always wanted to play a cloud.
Beg to differ, sir. So yes, you are clouds, but you are trying to control the weather. And the area control strategy is you're making the weather change to get your fields to grow in different areas.
Gotcha. So you're the one changing the weather. I get it now.
Yeah. I can't talk trash. I love Everdell for its theme, and you're a squirrel. So you're a group of squirrels.
All right.
Oh, okay. I thought you were just talking to Daniel with that comment. I didn't know.
What do you mean by that, John?
Oh, nothing.
Is it because of my love for Everdell?
No,
I don't hate Everdell. It's my one bane of my game. Like, I just can't get over the giant tree. It broke me. I've talked about this experience. I won't talk about it again. But I will say, between theme and mechanics, don't get me wrong, I love me some strong mechanics. I'm probably going to sound very similar to Kelly, but oh my gosh, give me a Marvel themed game and there's a good chance I'm going to like that game even if it's garbage. So yes, I want my games to be oozing with theme because it's going to cover up so many blemishes that I'm willing to overlook. But if it's just purely mechanic, those games are great because you also they just have to be that good because there's literally nothing else about that game that you're going to enjoy, so it has to be a good game. So I want my games that I play, I want them to start with that theme so that even if they're not because how many masterpieces are truly out there? Like 10? I mean, come on, like some of these games are just, there's flaws and I want them to be covered up, please. And then just to get to kind of, since John brought up a game he designed, I want to bring up one that I technically designed. Can you guess what the theme was?
Marvel?
Superheroes. That's right.
There we go.
So I want a Euro superhero game so bad. So I think in this regard, it's like starting out as theme and it's like, how do you make Euros into a superhero game? And the way I thought about doing it is like Lords of Waterdeep and also set collection. So you're like setting, like you're drafting different sets of powers and you have 5 people on a team and they can each have 3 powers and those powers are represented by dice that you then place on a location to defeat the bad guy. And I'm like, yeah, that's the Euro game that I want. So I worked on it for several years and then my computer crashed and then I got sad. So I stopped.
That's terrible.
But Andrew, if you get tired of Christian themed games, you're welcome to take the superhero Euro game and work with it. It is
Bible
yours
Man's
if you
next.
want it.
Or Larry
Bible
Boy.
Man.
Bible Man, there you go. All right.
Bible Man versus Larry Boy.
That'd be great.
The
That
Dice
could be a
knockoff.
next Unmatched set.
That could be. We'll get into that later.
After we're done, I'm going to the Unmatched community, and I'm like, I want this set to happen.
Somebody will make it. What do you think out there? Do mechanics make it for you? Do you like the theme? Do you want to be a cloud like Kelly? Or is it the experience? I've never heard that explained before when Andrew was talking about that, is that I want them to feel like this. How do I do that? That's an interesting way to make a game. But what of those fits, what trips your trigger, fills your bucket, what have you? Let us know in the comments down below.
Round 2. Fight!
In round 2, we're going to play the fan favorite Play Shelf Trade. And this, we take 3 games that we've chosen beforehand and we ask the contestants, do they want to, which one of these are they going to play right now? Which ones are they going to put on the shelf because they want to keep this game forever? And which one are they getting rid of? And we kind of picked some like more categories of games. So we wanted like an expansion. And I don't know if I said this. We picked 3 games with expansions because, of course, Deliverance is kickstarting the expansion now. So if you want to check that out, go to Kickstarter and back Andrew's game Deliverance now. But the 3 expansion games that we're looking at is Lords of Waterdeep. It's our Euro. It's like, how do you feel about Euro expansions? Then we have Wingspan. How do you feel about expansions with like cards? Because Dominion and other card games kind of it's more of the same type of thing or maybe a slight variation. And then the other one we used was Unmatched. And I know we've done Unmatched a lot, but this one fit really well because it's these skirmish games where it's just like, this character's different. It's kind of the same game, but each character's so different that it feels like a new game. So what is your play shelf trade? And as always, I'm the host, so I will start. So I am going to say the shelf has to be Unmatched. You guys know I love that game. Every single new set I have to buy, even if I'm not familiar with the IP, I still want it. And it's because it's the exact same game every time, but with a new twist. And that's what I want my expansions to be. I don't want it to redefine the game. I don't want it to change the game. If your game was sucky and this expansion fixes it, I don't care. I don't need that. I want the game that I love, and I don't want you to change that. And because of that, my play is going to be Wingspan. Even though I don't really enjoy Wingspan, I do like the card play of Wingspan, and I love card expansions. Actually, when it comes to expansions, those are like the best ones. Marvel Champions, Marvel Legendary, just give me more cards to make that game more robust. And then the trade is going to be Lords of Waterdeep. I love Lords of Waterdeep. It's one of the games that have been on my shelf for probably since the day it came out, but I have still never gotten the expansion. And every time I think about it, because I hear how great it is, I just look at it and I go, I like Lords of Waterdeep. I don't want Scoundrels of Davenport or whatever it's called. I don't know. You guys can
I like that
correct
better.
me in the comments. I know. It's like, so like, I don't know. Euros to me, they should never have expansions. Yes, there's exceptions, of course, but like, no, this is a Euro I like. It doesn't need anymore because as soon as you add something else, it is a different game. So get that Euro expansion out of my face. So that was
How
my
dare
passionate
you
play
fix
trade.
my bad game, Daniel says. Don't
That's
fix
right.
my game.
No, I'm going to trade that game and get rid of it.
If it's a bad game, I want the expansion to make it worse. I want the
No.
original flavor of that game.
Make a new
Come
game.
true.
Make a new game, John.
Okay, gotcha. I about fell out of my chair with your pick for Wingspan, with as much hate as you've thrown Wingspan.
Well,
So that
I
was
wasn't
amazing.
picking the game as much as I was picking the concept of the game.
No,
I got you. We're in a little bit of agreement here, unfortunately, but not quite. Because my play is going to be Unmatched. Unmatched has got so many expansions that I haven't played yet, and like you say, it's so easy to pick up and play. You read the card that comes with the new expansion. Oh, this is how this works. How can I optimize this in every situation? And so, like the new Shakespeare set that I didn't buy, the Houdini and the Genie I barely touched. So I mean, there's a lot of the newer ones that I wouldn't mind sinking my teeth into, like in a tournament even, and having some of these guys and playing several times with them. That could be a lot of fun. So Unmatched is going to have to be my play because there's always ones out there I haven't played. So that's going to have to be. Wingspan, I think, at least the European expansion is what an expansion should be, because it's more of what you love about Wingspan. It gives you a couple different ways extra to score, which is not hard to do. It gives you reasons to do things each round because you can score things at the end of the round. So that's kind of cool too. And so that's going to be my shelf because I love the way they did that. I'd never play it without that expansion. The other expansions don't really appeal to me, especially you have a whole new board and you got the nectar and all that. And it's just, I don't know. Kelly can probably speak to that on her turn, but I'm not even crazy about the idea of it, like how Daniel was talking about. So, but that original one, yes, I love that. That's on my shelf. So yeah, Lords of Waterdeep, I remember it as being the really cool worker placement that got me into worker placement because I'd never done it. I was just fascinated. I'm like, what am I doing? What's this? What's going on? I love it. And I played the old one several times. Yet never had, like I said, never had any thoughts of it needing an expansion. People say it fixes the game. I didn't know the game was broke. It's news to me. I liked it the way it was. I don't own it. It's like one of those games that you kind of move away from to me, where you have other worker placement games that you're like that the theme does nothing for me in Lords of Waterdeep. Sorry, and it's pasted on anyway. But if it was a theme that I liked, I would probably own the game because it is very well made. But as it is, that expansion is going to hit the trails. We used to always say this, and it's appropriate this time. It is like yesterday's Judas. It's out of here. So that's my
I'm glad
play
you brought
shelf
that
trade.
back, John.
We got to bring that back.
So John, I just realized, I think you just, we've heard the if it's not fixed, or if it's not broke, don't fix it. I think board games should be, if it's not broke, make an expansion, because why not?
Yeah.
So speaking of that, Andrew, tell us about your expansions. No, just kidding.
Yeah, actually, I sat in so Justin Gary, who designed Ascension, that has like 23 expansions, or I'm going to say 25 expansions now.
Yeah.
And and I actually got to market one of those. It was
Nice.
an offshoot, Ascension Tactics. In fact, it wasn't an expansion, but he talked about, what do your fans want in an expansion? And he said the first expansion, all you should do is give them more because they love it. You shouldn't be switching things up and whatnot. But then after a while with Ascension, you've got so much going on. You could buy the pirate themed one that's got like a pirate ship that moves around a track and, all sorts of stuff. So eventually, people want different things, but shoot. So I guess for me, my trade is Lords of Waterdeep. That just wouldn't ever see play in my house. I got my start with Agricola, however you say that. I got the big one. And I don't know what it is about that game. I like playing it. It takes me like 4 hours to play a 2-player game with my wife, and we're all like, totally paralyzed and, can't make moves because there's so much to do that we could do, but yeah, I feel like Euro games, it's sometimes hard for me to get them to the table just because of the level of interest that my family has in those types of games. That said, can I say Wormspan instead of Wingspan? Because all I want to do is trade Wingspan for
Sure.
Wormspan. I love Wormspan so much. Wingspan was pretty good, and my wife and I loved playing it. But when we got Wormspan, it was like next level. I mean, the fantasy version of Wingspan, and you didn't have to be like, oh, my bird feeder doesn't have any cherries in it or whatever, right? And it's like, you win or lose based on your own strategy and whatnot. And I loved it. I also love the theme of dragons. It's just super fun. I like whenever anything kind of leans into fantasy, it's super fun. And so I loved Wingspan and or Wormspan. Wingspan was okay. So I would put that on my shelf that I keep forever.
I guess we could consider Wormspan a expansion for Wingspan.
Yeah.
Of type.
Well, coming out with an expansion, so I think it counts, right?
Sure, why not?
Yeah, so same DNA, right? So
Yes.
when Wormspan gets an expansion, that'll be my choice. And then Unmatched I would play. So I've played Unmatched a number of times, and it's funny because it feels so, in many ways, so similar to Deliverance. In fact, I want to say Alex Radcliffe of Board Game Co. said that Deliverance replaced Unmatched for him as his top skirmish game.
Oh,
and
wow.
I thought that was cool. It was like it was Tales to a Maze, the co-op version of Unmatched. That he said that Deliverance was like a better version of the skirmish that, and so I got to play it over at I want to say I played it at convention early this year, and it was like, wow, this does feel like Deliverance. I think that's the same house we use on the map or whatever, like over here, just like similar perspectives and whatnot. And it was fun. It was a ton of fun. I played Nikolai Tesla. We shredded it and we did great. And I really, really enjoy that game. So anytime somebody wants to play Unmatched, I am down. Co-op competitive,
Nice.
That's a super fun one.
After we meet each other in person and we play Deliverance, we'll play Unmatched next.
Yeah, that's
also.
that
I'm glad to know that Deliverance came out before their adventure system did, so you can definitely take credit. They definitely ripped you off.
There you go.
That's awesome.
All right, Kelly, let's hear from you. What are your play shelf trades?
All right, so I agree. Lords of the Waterdeep is just one of those worker placement games you always started to play. It's like the Splendor or the Catan for many people. It does have a slapped on theme, I think, of a D&D, which a lot of people know. I've never played the expansion Scoundrels of Skullport. What I've heard, though, is the corruption adds an interesting element of how corrupt do you get versus balancing that out. So for that, I want to play it just to try it. So that would be my play for sure.
Interesting.
Wingspan, I have to, if I bring this up, I have to talk about my 2021 champion FBC bracket, where Wingspan took it to the very end. Nobody thought it, but I won with that game. So with that being said, this baby's never leaving my shelf. And another reason why it's never leaving my shelf is I got the big box and I don't know that I can lift it up anymore. It is so yeah, it's a classic game. It's gonna stay around for many generations, I think. I always called it the save a marriage game because girls will play games now with their husbands because it's got birds. So that is my shelf. Absolutely unequivocally trading Unmatched.
Oh,
I think the
who
line
invited her on the show?
line of sight mechanism, I agree, is super cool. The board, I mean, how that all works out is really neat. But I was just kind of underwhelmed with the characters I've played so far. Maybe I just need to find my character that's fun to play. You know, I've played like She-Hulk and Medusa, and each time I'm just kind of
Wow.
like meh. But
Those are a little more straightforward characters. Do you need more?
Yeah, but they're really good
complexity?
ones.
They are some of the best.
yeah, I guess it just wasn't good enough for me.
Man,
Well, we're gonna keep playing, Kelly, until you find the correct one.
that's right.
Because it's a
Got
shame that you
Deadpool.
don't
I'll play
love Unmatched as much as me.
Gosh.
All right, well, let us know, guys, what is your play shelf trade for these games specifically? But go a step further and tell us, what do you think of expansions in general? Do you like more of the same? Do you want a continued story like Deliverance? Or do you like these Euros that like give you a new mechanic to play with just because? Let us know in the comments below.
Lord bless thee and keep thee. The Lord make his face shine upon thee. Lord bless thee and keep thee. The Lord make his face shine upon thee and be gracious to thee and be gracious unto thee. Lord, lift up his countenance upon thee and give thee Lord bless thee.
So if that looked awesome to you, check out Deliverance on Kickstarter now. You won't regret it. It's a pretty great game.
Round 3. Fight!
All right, now we're going to talk about playtesting. What do you think when someone asks you to playtest their game? Excited? Do you dread it? What is your feeling on it? I'm going to go ahead and say my opinion. So, the positives I think of it are, I think it's fun to play a game and like give input, because sometimes that'll get incorporated into the game. And so that's always kind of a fun aspect. I think also too, depending on, if it is a designer that you really know and like, getting early access to a game is also fun. Some negatives for me though is depending upon how well established they've thought it through, sometimes explaining it can go a long time. A lot of people have a lot of questions. So if they haven't really like ran through it and really have it down, like sometimes I'm like, you know me, it's hard to keep my attention for more than 5 minutes for a rules read anyways. You better have it together. So sometimes I'll zone out, and I haven't personally experienced this. Sometimes a designer may not like your feedback, and that can get touchy. But my personal experience, I've not run into that. Usually they're like, "Oh, okay, great, great, great."
Do you try to avoid play testing, or do you like to do it?
It really has to somehow grab me or be someone that I'm like, okay, I can't say no to you.
Nice. Yeah, so for me, I will admit I'm going to be very selfish when it comes to these play tests. I just do not like it. The way I view my hobby is that this is my spare time and I have to do something I enjoy. Playing a game that is not quite ready does not ever sound like fun. And sometimes it's been cool to been asked. Like I've used Jack Dunbar's name a couple of times at Gen Con. We met up and he let me demo his game that was like in still prototype, and that was cool. It was kind of cool to experience that in that setting. But in most cases, nah. I'd rather just play an established game. Also, the other flaw in this is that there is no entry on Board Game Geek. And you guys know if you can't log it on Board Game Geek, it didn't
It's like you
happen.
didn't play it.
Exactly. So
They
that's
need
just
to
like an
have,
hour of
like,
my day that is just gone.
Yeah, they need to have the unpublished game, just like a tick,
Yeah.
It's like the
Yeah.
most played game on Board Game Geek or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. That'll be the number one rated game,
There you go.
unpublished.
Yeah.
No, if
Rated
you get
1 out of
that
10.
going, then I can actually play test your game. I need an entry in that. But yeah, I don't know. Otherwise, I'm just not a big fan of it. And I will say when I tried to design my one game before, I made my friends play test this game, and I regret it to this day. I'm pretty sure that's the reason they don't play board games anymore.
I was gonna say, how many of them moved away and all
They
that?
did. They really did. It's like all my college friends. They don't play any board games with me anymore because they're probably like, "Oh, he's gonna make me play that stupid piece of paper
Yeah.
game that he made." And I'm like, "I'm so sorry."
Surprisingly, I think I feel similarly to you. I didn't think you would feel that way, but I've shared before my game length anxiety that I have, where any game that I know is going to last 3 hours plus, I'm like so anxious to play, and I'll sit down and halfway in the rules, somebody's playing Wingspan at the next table, and I'm like, oh, I could be playing Wingspan right now. We're not even halfway done with the rules. I could be, one round in Wingspan, and I could be having fun, and I would know I would have fun. I don't even know if I'm gonna have fun, and I feel the same way with playtesting. It's like there's games that I know and games that I know that I like, and there's games that are made by real publishers that are already made and they're not a project. That being said, I haven't done it much for that reason. I haven't playtested much, but I did playtest for All Play when they came out with the QA expansion, the commodities expansion. But I mean, it's a real company though, and this was a produced product. It was pretty much the way it was going to be sold. But I was there with Joe Wiggins, so it's a little uncomfortable, I mean, luckily, I had zero bad things to say about it. He brought up the bad things. I was like, oh yeah, you're right. That part's a little annoying, but I had so much fun with it. I didn't care because I'd played QE before, and I was like, I love what this adds. You're right. The markers kind of get erased on it sometimes, but whatever. I'll deal with it. I didn't really care. But so yeah, and then the only other one is when we had that Pampero game that we got from that Ecuadorian designer about the windmills and so. But we're nowhere near the designer. We got the game, we played it ourselves, and so there was no pressure to like it or whatever. We could just say what we wanted about it. So that was good too. He's probably seen the video, and but I don't know whether he's seen it or if he cares about it. So that took the pressure off that one, and that was a long game too. But that one actually looked cool. That was a game where I would have been interested in playing anyway when it came out. So yeah, I'm not eager to play test. So unfortunately, yeah, I'm not one of the people down that Lowen is going to be looking for here to mess with his games probably. But Andrew, what kind of a challenge is it to find play testers that are actually going to give you the feedback that you want?
It's so funny because the best feedback that I ever receive when people are playing a game of mine is in their body language. If they are on their cell phone, if they're leaning back, if they're not engaged, I can tell. And then it's really awesome just to simply, whenever they ask me, hey, what is this? How does this work? My answer is always, well, how do you think it works? How do you think it should work? And like, go, like, do it. What do you think it, like, do the thing that you think it should, based on the way it's written. And they're like, okay. And it's really useful information. one of the things that I leverage every so often, especially with a game that is less complete, is I call the test early. So Deliverance is a 1 to 2 hour game where, like we're, early on, it's like we're an hour in and we're only halfway through the first battle. I know there's no way we're going to finish this game in, another hour. There's no way. And so I'll be like, okay, guys, let's pause right here. What did you guys think about, this thing? I'd love to get some feedback from you. Part of the thing is you want to get feedback when they're actually like when they have brain cells left. You don't want to just soak them all, and so like if you're looking at Wingspan over there longingly, like I need to call it, I need to call the playtest and be like, hey, now is when I'd love to hear your feedback, and I saw like, okay, he's not that interested in Deliverance right now. Let's hear what he has to say. Sometimes you'll get people that are like, oh yeah, it was good, it was good, I had fun, it was great, I loved it. And I'm like, okay, well, here, jump onto my email. Here I would take my cell phone out, open up my app for people subscribing to the email list, and they would give me their spam email because they really just don't want to let me know that they didn't really care that much about it, but they didn't want to hurt my feelings, and they really don't want to receive emails from me, so the spam email is the one that they give. But it gives them a way to like with dignity and grace, like
There you go.
leave. But then there are other people that are like, okay, I remember like I'm a character in our game, Shula. I want to use Starlight and hit this thing. All right, you deal 2 damage. That sucks. I remember this guy saying that. It's like, oh, that does kind of suck. It's weak. How can I make this character feel awesome? And little things like that. So you'll have people that are very honest, and people that are I'll say dishonest, but not because they just don't want to like hurt your feelings.
Yeah.
They're not mean people, and they don't want to say what they really feel. They don't want to just go unchained and be like, your game was horrid, I'd rather play any other game in this entire convention than yours. And of course that's like the default, right? Because it's cardboard that you bought off Amazon and marked up with markers and stuff. So the thing that I find most interesting about playtesting other games is when I give feedback, I'll pick a particular thing instead of say like, oh, this was wrong, whatever. I'll be like, this one thing would help me elevate the game from, like, let's just say it's a 5 right now. This one change would elevate it to a 6. Like that's the one bit of honey that I give, is like, this is the one actionable change that you can make that will make a big difference next time. And and that's what I ask my people. I'm like, if you could change one thing, what would be the one thing that you would change to take this from like an 8 to a 9, or from a 7 to an 8? And they'll be like, well, there was this one time, and then it's like, sometimes people will tell you like, oh, there are these problems and here are the solutions or whatever, and they might not actually have identified the correct problem, but they have identified that there was a problem. And the fact that there was a problem is what I need as the designer to say, what was the root cause of the problem, and how shall I address that in the solution, right? But the one thing that I find that I really, really detest, and I will play test other people's games because I like to research and see kind of how they think and whatnot, but is when they defend their choices. It's like, you should really think about making this cost 3 instead of 5, and because I felt like I couldn't really use it that much. It's like, oh, well, there's a reason that it costs 5.
Yeah.
It's because if you use this combo, it becomes
Mhm.
overpowered. If it costs 3, it'd be way too overpowered and blah, blah, blah. It's like, dude, look, man, I didn't know that combo existed, but I'm just telling you that it sucked. Like this whole time I was trying to be awesome and I couldn't because the thing cost
Yeah.
5.
Yeah.
And you'll have people that just can't really they can't receive feedback, almost like their
Gotcha.
mind is like closed. And so that's the one thing that I can sometimes dread about that.
Yeah. So I do got one little antidote real quick. I remember there was one
Antidote?
actual play test I did, and that was of Mark Swanson. He's the guy who did Feud. He was friends with Joe Wiggins, and he came and we actually play tested a game that he backed on that he released on Kickstarter called Fled. And it's a little simple tile laying game, and it was a pretty much a production copy, so it was still play testing. But he explains the rules to me, and it's super simple, and I'm like, I'm in a room with really smart people, and I feel like I'm really dumb. So I was like, guys, just so you know, I didn't understand what you said. Take it or leave it. It's like, I will admit I'm the idiot in the room, but I don't know how to play this game. And we've been playing it for an hour now and it's almost done. And I don't know how valuable that was. He kind of looked at me like, okay, dude, whatever. But that was a fun little experience. I was excited to do it and super appreciative that I was invited, but I was like, all of a sudden, like very over my head. I was like, oh, I am not qualified for this.
Yeah.
Let us know, guys, if what do you think of playtesting? Have you had any interesting experiences? Do you have any bragging moments where you're like, I got to play Eric Lang's game, Blood Rage, before it came out? Let us know in the comments below, and like and subscribe.
Round 4, fight!
Round 4 comes to me, and it's a new one. I believe we've never done this one before, called Top 3, where we're going to have a category, and we all say our top 3 from that category. And the top 3 we're looking for is top 3 all-time leadoff hitters in baseball. And we're going to start with Andrew Lowen.
What?
And he's... I'm joking. That's not what we're doing. That would be fun, but no, that's not what we're doing. What we're going to do
Royal
is
season
top...
right now, so let's do it.
Top 3 themes in board games, and you can give examples of those themes if you like, but it's not necessary. But we'll go with I'm the theme guy. The two guys that aren't theme guys aren't here.
Yeah,
so
well, that's why we literally kicked them off the show. We were like, we're talking about a game full of theme. We got to get these two hosers out of here.
Exactly.
And we replace them with people who actually appreciate the beautiful games that exist out there.
That's right. So to start out this segment, we'll run it over here to Andrew. Andrew, what do you think there, buddy? What themes do you like?
Yeah, well, first I have a lot of Lord of the Rings on my shelf. I've got a lot of Lord of the Rings LCG. I've got a lot of Lord of the Rings Journeys to Middle-earth. I will soon have Lord of the Rings Duel. And generally, if it's Lord of the Rings, I like Lord of the Rings LCG better than Marvel Champions. And I love Marvel Champions, but and it's a better game, but it's just not Lord of the Rings though. And I find that I would rather die a very slow and painful death in Lord of the Rings than a very quick, snappy turn death in Marvel Champions. It's weird after playing tons of them. I think Lord of the Rings is just something that when something feels authentically LOTR, it's awesome. The next thing that just generally speaks to me, I feel like in a way it's safe. Sci-fi is immediately like sci-fi like not fantasy, but the sci-fi end of things. We'll say like low fantasy, like Star Trek style sci-fi, versus Space Wizard, Star Wars, high fantasy sci-fi. I love the Star Trek style sci-fi. So like one game recently that I picked up was Undaunted 2200 Callisto. First time I picked up an Undaunted game, it's typically like a World War I, World War II, two sides fighting each other type game. And as soon as they came out with a futuristic sci-fi game where you play with mechs and not tanks, and you're either the breakers that are trying to rebel against their corporate overlords, or the corporate overlords trying to keep the people working in the mines or whatever, that is really fun. And it tends to be very easy for me to just get into themes like that. And then of course I made one that I just couldn't get out of my head. So Angels, that like I actually wouldn't say that I am a huge fan of Angels overall. I'm very critical of Angels, Demons, and everything in between. And if it's done right, like I just felt like there's no theme that I could get into that does it right. And so I had to make it. And that's why, Angels, Demons, and Saints Oh My, love that. And I felt like I needed to have a version that was not, it didn't cause me to compromise faith values, and at the same time I couldn't compromise on the awesomeness of the gameplay. So that's so I made the game that I wanted to see enter into the world, and so that's the theme. I
got to ask for clarification. You said you weren't big fans of Angels. I'm assuming you mean Angels games.
Well, there. So
like, God, send me your guardian angel. No, not that one. I'm me and him don't get along.
Yeah, no, you're right. Well, Fallen Angels, I wouldn't be a big fan of. Angels that that are good ones, I guess. So definitely. Sorry, guys, if you're around me, guarding me from bad guys, like I appreciate you guys. But it's like you've either got the godlike angel from Tyrael from Diablo that is which is cool, but is not really an angel. It's just like a monster.
Yeah.
Or
monster,
you've got like the Renaissance painting of Michael, which looks like a little red-haired girl. And that's just a little bit it's just like a child, like this angel that's supposed to be ultra awesome, and it's like this
Yeah.
battle leader that looks like a little child,
Like little precious moments.
Yes,
Yes,
that's
little
right.
cherub.
Precious moments. And so I feel like you typically have those two extremes. And so I kind of took an allegorical approach with our angels and made them look like people, like everyday people, like good looking people with wings, basically.
There you go.
Did you make any with eyeballs, covered in eyeballs, the cherubims?
I did I did an April Fool's joke once where I took googly eyes and I pasted them all over Azrael, the angel of death.
Yes.
And it was like, now improved with more eyeballs. And then I took googly eye. Like one time I saw in World of Warcraft, there was this really cool art piece of Deathwing, this black dragon that was like the really bad guy. And somebody put googly eyes on him. And you cannot, nothing is serious or scary with googly eyes on it. It's so funny. And so I started putting googly eyes on everything. I put googly eyes on the abomination, which is this Oni looking thing with like a crazy gnarly smile, but googly eyes, it looks so funny. And I ended up losing a fan on our social media because I thought that I was serious. It's like, you're really doing the eyeballs thing? It's like, no, man, it's just googly eyes.
Oh my gosh.
And they felt embarrassed. And
you gotta love the internet. People take things way too serious.
I'm glad we're not the only one that loses fans.
I know, right? Our Dice Tower episode is still going to be famous that we just went. But hey, breaking news. I think I'm safe to say this. Tom Vassal's actually going to be on our show because of our most infamous episode yet.
Yes.
He's going to come and set the record straight about the Dice Tower Awards and the Dice Tower Hall of Fames. And he actually asked us to be on the show.
That's awesome.
So
he's probably
October
basically
27th
going to
is
just take
recording.
us to task for an hour. That's what I'm thinking.
Probably. And I'm going to sit there with a smile on my
Hopefully
face.
it'll be fun.
Yeah.
Daniel, what do you got for us, buddy? I'm sorry, Kelly.
Not me,
My bad.
Kelly.
Oh, okay.
Do we need to play the Where's Kelly song again?
We probably should. It's such a beautiful song.
Yeah,
Whoever sings it is a
I
master.
know, right?
It's wonderful.
So theme, obviously, I've already talked about it. I do love theme.
Clouds.
Yes. Cloud. My head are in the clouds. But it was kind of interesting when I started thinking about this that I actually like a lot of nature games. And I really did not put that together until I started thinking about it recently. Like, things like, Petrichor, which I've already mentioned, but Forest Shuffle, Everdell, Earth, Meadow, Cascade, Planet, just to throw out some games. And I'm just like, wow, I really do like that earthy aesthetic. I think it's a calming kind of thing too. It's just like, let's just chill, play some games, man.
Yeah,
Chill.
chill.
Yeah. What's that?
So what other two do you have? So
the
Earth.
other two space games I've noticed, like Planet Unknown, Black Angel, Roll for the Galaxy is a huge one I play with my husband all the time. He loves that game.
I didn't know you liked that one. I'd play it with you.
Oh, really? I have the
Yeah, I
expansion.
love it.
And I got to get them to the table. Seriously.
Bring it on.
A good oldie, Super Motherload. Have any of y'all played that one?
It's been on my playlist.
No.
Oh, it's such an excellent game. A little bit deck builder. I don't know how you really would describe the tile exploration, but it's so fun. My third favorite is anything Asian. I love the aesthetic. Give me some cherry blossom trees, geisha, whatever, I'm there. And so much so that even though I was dead set against never playing an RPG, someone actually convinced me to try out Legend of the Five Rings, and I was sold, bought all the books, and then can't get anybody to play with me.
Our friend Trevor will play with you, Kelly, if you ask him really nicely. Now, the Lords of the Five. What is it called again?
Legends of the
Legend of the Five Rings.
Yeah, Legends of Five Rings. Sorry about that. It is such a
L5R
rich
to
theme.
experienced fans.
L5R, that's right. I used to play the card game back in the day, but that was
Yeah.
as much in that world I got. But like every board game they've made of that game has actually been like spot on. Like they have a great IP there, and they use it very well.
Yeah.
Very
You know,
rich.
your story reminds me of my love of BattleTech. I got really into BattleTech and I'm reading like the books right now, and no one will play BattleTech with me.
Yeah.
But I did get an 80 millimeter tall Mad Cat, so
Aw.
you know, who's the
Ooh,
sucker now?
there you go. That's a start.
Right.
I bet you, Randy. You know, actually, I'm coming to find out that you, Andrew, and Randy might have very similar tastes. I think Randy would play BattleTech with you, and your comments on Lord of the Rings, the card game, are literally identical to what the conversation me and Randy had because we played Champions together because that's my game, and then he's like, "Let's play Lord of the Rings," and I'm like, "Nah." And literally, we just talked about how you can lose Champions in just like a turn of a card, and you're like, "Oh yeah, that went poorly." Anyways. You and Randy need to hang out. All right, so here's my top three, guys. It's funny, I kind of forgot to do this ahead of time, so I was looking around.
Saw
and
you.
noticed me
Show
earlier. I was like,
prep?
wait, which ones are my favorites? So I don't know what my number one is. I'm so confused. I'm so lost. No, actually, I'm gonna start with my number one because you all know what that is, and it is definitely Marvel. You throw Marvel on it, I'm gonna buy it. I don't care if it's a crap game, good game, mediocre game. I'm gonna buy it. I'm gonna cherish it. I'm gonna keep it forever. I have Age of Heroes. Oh, it's over there. Dang it. One of the most beautiful covers of a game I've ever seen. The art is just meticulous, like just wonderful, but the gameplay is just a miss. But I will never let it leave my shelf because of that. Now, my number two most popular theme is superheroes. No, just kidding. I'm not going to do that. But I do like all superhero games, even if it's not.
And then
just
there's
Marvel.
number three is comics.
Like the exactly. You knew where I was going. No. All superhero games are great. That's all my number one. Like I loved Heroes Wanted. I got Invincible from Gen Con. I don't even like the IP, but I was like, I gotta play this. Anytime there's a comic book themed game on Kickstarter, I have to back it like instantly. So that's my number one. You guys all knew that. So now I'm gonna go with my number three. And my number three isn't necessarily a genre I would say I love the games for, but it's definitely a genre. Every time I see it come out, I'm like, I have to check out this game and I have to buy it. And that's honestly Christian themed games that are actually in the hobby. I want to put that in there. I think I've probably backed every Christian themed game that has came back since Deliverance, because again, there's been just this big boom that has come out. And I will admit, I haven't played a lot of them, maybe any of them at this point, but the theme itself attracts me. I did play Deliverance. I played the opening scenario, Andrew, but I haven't played much more than that because you can ask everybody. I don't actually play games. I just buy them. And then my number two, because you guys all knew my number one, so my number two is like, what is it going to be? And that is dinosaurs. I grew up loving dinosaurs. To this day, I have a fascination with dinosaurs. Anytime it comes across on Kickstarter, I have to back them. One of my most famous dinosaur game stories is I backed Dinogenics, and Dinogenics and Dinosaur Island came out at the exact same time on Kickstarter, and Dinosaur Island kind of got the more universal praise, but I couldn't get over that 80s, 90s aesthetic, the neons and stuff like that. I was like, that game looks hideous. So I went Dinogenics, and in the end, it was perfect choice for me. I love Dinogenics. I think Dinogenics is a far superior game than Dinosaur Island. So check that one out. But yeah, if it's dinosaur themed, I'm all over it. So
And
there you go.
Animal
I always
Kingdom
talk about
just
so
did a
much about
dinosaur
Marvel. You probably
one.
didn't know about this other things for me.
wait,
so.
Daniel, wait. Andy didn't ruin Dinogenics for you. Don't you remember that one time?
Woo! Well, that's a story for another day. But I will tell you guys quickly, if you ever want to see someone flip a table, play Dinogenics with
Oh
Andy,
my.
and, you might get to experience
Really?
it. Yeah.
That's crazy. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've had the pleasure a few times and I've loved that game. And dinosaurs are not something that I generally am gravitating towards, but that just the look of that game when you first pulled it out and everything. And I was like, oh, I think this looks pretty cool. I think I'll give this a shot. And just the mechanics of it and everything. It's almost a perfect game, if you ask me. Dinogenics is really amazing.
Yeah. And I will say that they were saying, I'm sorry, we're going to restart your time, John, but Dinosaur Island was touted as like, it's Jurassic Park, the game.
Yeah.
No. Dinogenics is
is.
Jurassic Park the game.
Yeah.
It actually looks like Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Dinogenics looks like a hippies acid trip. I mean, it just doesn't look good. I hate it. Anyways, that's
But
that's
it had
me being
pogs. Come on.
Just felt
sorry.
like
that
Roller
crave
Coaster
went out in the
Tycoon,
'90s as well.
the lame version, or Zoo Tycoon, the lame version is like what I felt like Dinosaur Island.
Ooh, I haven't watched that. I haven't played that one. But if that's lame of Dinosaur Island, then I don't want any part
Yeah,
of
exactly.
that.
All right.
John. Sorry. Go ahead.
That's okay. Yes, my top three. I think you're going to know my number one. We'll start with number three. Which two and three are pretty even, but three would probably be. I'm sorry, I don't like the fantasy. I don't like far out stuff. I don't usually gravitate towards sci-fi. Like I say, dinosaurs I don't usually gravitate for, but real life themes. Okay, things that are relatable, things that you, when they say this is this, you know what that means. Like hot game that's out right now, Rock Hard 1977. It's about real life. It's about trying to be a rock star in the 70s. And it's in the theme. You can feel the theme in the game and everything about it. You know what you're talking about. Oh, I have to get a job. I'm this. I'm a secretary. I have to work these hours. That makes sense. I know what a secretary is. I know what they do. I know what I do when I go to a job. And it's, when I'm practicing my craft, I know I'm practicing my craft. I'm getting better at my, so everything makes sense when you, like you say, I learned a new spell. That doesn't intrigue me. Sorry, it just doesn't do it. That one, and then even a game like Dream Home, where you're just building your house. It's like, I know what building a house is. I want a 2-car garage. I want this. I want that. And so those things really appeal to me. So that's number three. Number two would actually be light horror. Okay, not like Cthulhu stuff, because that's too far out there, but something a little more relatable. Abomination, the Heir of Frankenstein is one of the most perfectly themed horror games out there, because it's just on that edge where it's a little grisly, a little off-putting at times without going too far. I think it really balances that edge nicely. Another one would be like The Hunger, where it's like you're doing these grisly things as a vampire. You're eating, you're digesting people literally in the game, but it's got the artwork in it has just the right amount of cartoonish, what would you say, cartoonish swaths to it that it takes it down a level. It still looks pretty serious, but not as serious as the game could be. You know what I'm saying? It makes it a little more approachable, and it makes it perfect to me. I love that game. So yeah, the light horror. And then number one, of course, is gangsters. I want to be a gangsta. And so I mean, if it's a gangster game, I'm pretty much going to be interested in it. And I mean, the king of them all is right up here, The Godfather, Corleone's Empire. I wish they would do a reskin. I wish they would make it not The Godfather and just make it a crime game, because that's all it really is. It has nothing to do with that lame movie that came out in the 70s. So, but that's the pinnacle. That's one of my favorite games of all time. It's another one that's dripping with theme. You're setting off car bombs. You're doing drive-bys. Best thing about that game is that, and I did, Red Brian, I think he watches the show, one time did something to me early in that game where I was like, there's no way I'm going to win. The rest of my game, I'm going to be doing things to Red Brian. And it's still fun. It's like, okay, here you go, buddy. So it still makes it fun. You have no chance to win, but you're still having fun. So those are the three themes. That number one probably didn't surprise either one of you two. Andrew didn't know me that well, but yeah. But that's my three themes.
I think Kelly was shocked when you called Godfather a bad movie.
It's horrible.
Might be some
And
history
you say you like those themes. How dare you, sir?
The stereotype that all men love the movie The Godfather and quote it and think it's the best. No, it's okay. It's a fictional movie. Something
Kelly,
can happen.
make him
You
an
don't
offer
have to
he
have a
can't
whole
refuse.
hour where nothing happens. Let's make something happen. I don't know. They make movies a lot better now. Let's say that.
John, I also have to mention your number three was literally, I like games about jobs. I want to be a secretary. How does it feel to deliver goods?
That's
All of it. All he did was candy and Rock Hard. That's all he did.
That's it.
I'm gonna say you
That's
just
it.
like Mick Jagger's butt, don't you?
Whoa, hello.
That's
All
the
right.
funniest thing I think about that game is the cover is so right on for what the
Yes.
time was. It was like, I'm not sure if that's Mick Jagger or Bon Jovi or
Yeah.
whatever, but it's or Guns N' Roses or whatever. But that's like one of those guys with the jeans that were pure leather that they always wear. They really nailed that theme.
Yeah.
It's
You
just
know,
so
I actually
crazy.
thought that was
Jackie.
Jackie Fox. Thank you. You knew I was going to say Jamie.
Yeah.
I
It
thought
could
that was
be.
Jackie Fox on there. I will say we told this story on our Gen Con episode. We met Jackie Fox and she autographed the game for us, and we were like the first people in line. So she was like, "Where should I autograph it?" And we're like, "I don't know." She goes, "I'm gonna give this person a tramp stamp," and she signs it right there. So ever since then, I'm like, I don't know. I just saw that as Jackie Fox, I
Yeah.
suppose. So
Yeah, Andrew, if you don't know, Jackie Fox was also a bassist for the Runaways, the female
Yeah,
rock group in the 70s. So yeah.
that's
Yeah,
awesome.
until I knew that, I thought the same as you. I thought it's a guy, but then heard that, I'm like, could be a girl. Who knows? It's the 70s. We don't know.
Yeah.
but it could be a guy because you're right. The jean.
Yeah.
pants
Oh,
and all
exactly.
that.
I
Yeah.
totally thought that when I first saw it.
Yeah, I thought like 70s hairband right away, but you never know. I mean, it's
Yeah.
definitely a theme that I think I'd like to try it to see, but I'm not sure. See, I love 70s hairbands and just in general, you know, like I'm always listening to yacht rock. You know, if I can. It's like the station that's like low 70s to mid 80s.
Nice.
So
Hey, nothing
Just
wrong
lay
with
off
that.
the candy. Just lay off the
Yeah.
candy.
Yeah, lay off the candy. Exactly. All right. Well, speaking of laying off the candy, that's a terrible segue. We're going to announce our winner.
All right, and as usual, our winner is the guest of our show.
Beat us
so
out by
I
a
did
point.
it. I did
Yeah,
it.
just it was the love for the Lord of the Rings card games that got to Randy. I saw the
Probably.
point shoot up when he mentioned it,
That's
and he
awesome.
just knew the right thing to say.
Yeah.
So Andrew, you get 2 minutes to talk about whatever you would like.
You just got another
Wow.
point because you mentioned that. So that's
That's awesome.
Rigged.
Well, since I've got time to talk about whatever I like, I will talk about the Kickstarter that we've got running right now. And can you like what's weird about this Kickstarter is that an expansion Kickstarter is so much different than like a standalone game Kickstarter. I didn't really realize how much different it was going to be because in essence, when I'm asking a brand new fan that discovered us for the first time, I'm asking them to spend $150 because they have to buy the base game and the expansion because that's what the deluxe awesome stuff is going to include. And you want all the fancy gameplay content. It's $150. It's only $119 for a returning fan. But you know, if you want everything all in, you're going to spend $260 and you're saving 110 over retail. But oh my goodness, that's a big ask. And it was right in the very beginning, it was kind of a tall order to get people to convert into the new stuff. I had like 70% of my backers were people buying the expansion only. I was like, wow, did I do something bad? Maybe, you know, we raised 175,000 on day one, whereas day one we raised 140 in the first campaign. And, you know, that was a standalone, but you know, this is my second campaign. I've got more emails and that kind of thing. And over time, people looked up the game, they looked at all the playthrough videos and that kind of thing, and they just started backing. And our campaign has increased like rocket fuel. So it took us, I want to say, like 11 days, or it was 12 days to surpass. We did it on October 6th. Actually, we surpassed the first campaign's total funding, and it's like instead of fighting to scrape together $1,000 to $1,500 or $2,000 in a day in the mid campaign, we're like our bad day is 5,000. It's like sometimes we make 20.
Wow.
It's pretty wild, you know. It's just to see all of the work that we did to, you know, just make a good game and everything like that. It has really, and the notoriety that it's received in the community and whatnot. We even actually had a little bit of cancel culture and then reverse cancel culture happen, which was really interesting. And you know, all of the, you know, it's just been a wild ride. And to see, I have, you know, at the moment like 8 days left to go based on the time of our recording right now. But holy cow, it is a wild ride. I am definitely ordering Grubhub a lot more than I did, and I am you know, spending a lot more time in the chair than I normally do. But it's been really, really fun. It's been really cool. And there are no trolls this time, We made a Christian
good.
game and there are no trolls. There are
Nice.
that are like, this is great. Or I'm not a Christian. Can I play? And everyone's like, yes, come play in the sandbox. And we're all just having a really great time. The only people that there was one person that trolled me that said, is your game, are there any angels that are non-white, or do only white people make it to heaven in your game? Dude,
Wow.
okay, like it was, and everybody I screenshot that comment, removed his name, and then pasted it for my Facebook group to just laugh about it. I was like,
Yeah.
this deserves to be laughed at.
Exactly.
And obviously I didn't want him to see, that or I didn't want any to like, dox anyone or anything like that.
Yeah.
But the community just had a field day with that. We just had so much fun. So anyway, it's been really, really fun. I love the community. I love getting to celebrate Deliverance with a bunch of hardcore fans and that that just love the game, and it's been a really, really fun thing. But it's been interesting to see how it launched, and maybe our next campaign is definitely going to be a standalone game because it's a much taller ask. If I made another expansion, it's like, well, now you have to pay $300 to get in or whatever. It's like that's going to be a tall order, right? So
Well,
anyway.
well, Andrew, I got to say, the reason that you have less trolls is we actually took the internet away from Andy. So he's not out there wreaking havoc. So you're welcome. No, but seriously, Andrew, we appreciate you having you on. I'm glad that this Kickstarter is doing great. As we said at the beginning of the show, what Deliverance is doing for this design space in Christian games is revolutionary, and you deserve all this game deserves all the praise that it's getting, and you deserve to be applauded. You really had a good vision, and it really came through, and it shows. So,
well, one thing I feel is that it's a game that I made, but it's not a game that it's like God had the full plans in heaven, and he was like, let's give Andrew a little piece, and then he'll have to struggle for the rest. And it's like I got a little bit, and it's like, why didn't like how God gave David and Solomon like the temple, and was like, this should be over here, and this should be over there, and that should be made of gold, and this should be yay tall. For me, it was like, you have idea. I was like, oh, I have an idea. It's like 6 months to a prototype for a horrible game, and a lot, but it just felt, it's to God's glory to conceal a matter, and to a king's glory to search out a matter, and so I felt like in some ways, I can't really take credit for it because I feel like God is the one that had the thing and deposited little bits into my head. I'll say one thing is that the prayer, darkness, and combat system hit me all at the same time, and I implemented it. And though little segments of the pieces changed, the system never changed. So it's like you pray to cast down darkness, you roll dice to cast down those darkness cards, and you have to balance your actions in combat against the darkness cards on the field. And that was just like deposited into my mind one day. It was like, that's
cool.
The Lord that did that.
That's really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, well, let's close out the show. We got quick birthdays, and then we'll take it out here. So I'm going to start. We have Heat. It's actually 2 years old this month. 2 years. Get out of here, John. You have no taste in games. You down thumb it. Whatever, man. Heat's the best racing game out there. And if you like Heat, our last episode 49, we did a hot or not debate on it, and John's comments will make you sick.
Don't they always?
Always.
On a good day. Let's talk about a good game. The Hunger. There we go. I was just talking about it, and I didn't even know it was on the birthdays. So The Hunger is 3 years old today. Well, this month anyway. It came out in 2021. The cool little deck building racing game. That's really cool. It's kind of a race too. You got to get back to the castles. I think it's a better racing game than Heat, and more of a deck builder. So there you go. There you go, Chris. I'll sell it to you, Chris Thompson.
Blank for me.
All right, well, that's it for this show, guys. Thanks to all of our wonderful viewers out there. Remember to smash those like and subscribe buttons. Also, be sure to join our Facebook group, Around the Board. Like and subscribe our YouTube channel, and send us an email to mail@aroundtheboard.net, or reach out to us on, well, Twitter or TikTok. We technically have them, but maybe you shouldn't reach out to us. Just do Facebook. We're old people.
What about Anchor? Aren't we on Anchor?
Anchor! Can't forget about Anchor. Listen to us on Anchor or Spotify. All right. Well, until next time, guys, we'll see you around the board. Gotta pull up Deliverance.
I did the thing.
That looks like the best version.
Let's see. There's the
Hunger.
expansion.
Get that
Don't have the
evilness
expansion for
outta
the
here.
hunger though.
Evil.
It's supposed to be a good expansion.
I can't recall if I ever got it.